Utani wetu, igama lami nguNtsikaswakile Mayekiso. Welcome to another eye-opening episode of Mii Kasi Su Kasii, where cultural truth meets Kasi voices. Before we jump into the content, I'd like to urge everybody that's watching to like, comment, and subscribe. Please join us as we are en route to 100 subscribers. Let your friend know, let your cousin know, and let's delve deeper into the surface than what we've been told about our history. Danko. A nation without heritage is like a tree without roots. But what happens when the soil itself is stolen and someone else is left to name your branches? This is Mii Kasi Su Kasii, and today we ask the question that has haunted generations. Whose heritage is it anyway? Long before the flag changed hands, there were kings, queens, people of the land, rooted deep in soil, sky, and spirit. Basotho held court by the mountains. AmaZulu built nations under the spear. The Khoi and the sand painted memories on stone. They governed by lineage, by song, and by sacred rites. But then came the missionaries. But then came the land surveys. And finally came the rifles. Then one by one, our thrones were pulled from beneath us. When His Majesty King Dalindyebo of the Abatembu refused to submit to the British taxation, he was captured, imprisoned. His kingdom was dissolved under colonial ordinance. This was not just conquest, it was reprogramming. The apartheid state perfected the art of puppetry. Where resistance once wore leopard skin, they now dressed it in the velvet robe of compliance. They installed new kings, not by lineage or by birthright, but by signature. Kings and chiefs who answered to Pretoria, not to their people.
We know that also some leaders collaborate. So we end up with a situation in present-day South Africa where some traditional leaders are people whose authority, whose own positions come from being conferred upon them by laws under apartheid, under colonialism. They come to be traditional leaders in cases where there are forced removals in some cases in the 1950s, 1960s, and people get pushed by apartheid into the authority of traditional leaders in some cases that they don't recognize. So that's why we've got this unevenness and these kinds of tensions.
They decided to split our villages. They discredited our queens and replaced our bloodlines with bureaucrats. And so generations grew up bowing to the state-sponsored culture. Today you can find our heritage in airport boutiques, Zulu beads on fashion runways, Xhosa blankets on Paris streets, but who profits? Who protects the meaning behind the motive? And who continues to buy the authentic South African crafts? We are exploited no matter how we look at it. Culture has become what I call now digital currency, but the creators are still asking for royalties. Intellectual property law barely stretches to protect the oral history, the ancestral symbols, or even the rituals that were performed by our ancestors. While our elders teach from memory, the others are filming for trademarks. I'd like us to journey now to KwaZulu-Natal, where the ink still drips on royal succession disputes, or to the Free State, where two claim the same throne, or even to Limpopo, where ancestral graves clash with mining permits. They want us to open up sacred land for tourism as well, but would they sell their churches the same way? We see the struggle, but it's not just on land, but it's in the soul of identity itself. The communities are caught between what they can remember and what the government recognizes. In the corners of homesteads, behind the umqomboti, women have carried the burden of heritage as midwives of language, as archivists of ritual, as the unrecognized oracles of South African history. But are they names etched into our national commemorations? We cannot speak of heritage without speaking of the erasure of matriarchs. Therefore, we should always respect and revere, but give order to Omama Bomtandas.
The 9th of August 1956. The day more than 20,000 women of all races staged a dignified and disciplined march to the union buildings. Their message was clear: no passes for women. The apartheid government's Urban Areas Act, or pass laws, required black South African men to carry passbooks wherever they went. In 1956, it was proposed that the law be amended to include females, but the Federation of South African Women was having none of it. It wrote petitions and collected over 100,000 signatures. The march that followed became one of the biggest demonstrations of its kind, and it continues to symbolize women's strength.
In Soweto and Seshego, in Langa naseMthatha, a new language is being carved through rhythm, through dance, through digital street murals on cracked township walls. Heritage is no longer what is just handed down, it's also what's being reimagined. This is the DNA of the new resistance, or as the kids would say, no DNA, just RSA, where memory becomes music and where ritual meets rhythm. But whose heritage is it anyway? Multilingualism also prompts different excursions of culture. We find crossbreeding into culture even now because of artists, people, or even diversifying of our people who migrate from the homelands to urban settlements to try and find a better sense of life. So whenever we hear people acclimatizing and joining into the local demographics of what the cultures are into, we should not always look down. So, whose heritage is it anyway? Is it the government? Is it the tourists who come and visit our borders? Is it the corporations who make money of our motives? Or does it belong to the barefooted child still traveling the gravels of the plains? Or does it still belong to the old lady who's pounding maize as she recites her clan names? To the elder with no title, but with a mouth full of lineage, royalty, and history? Heritage is not a hashtag, it is a birthright, it's a battlefield, and it's a becoming. We end not with answers, but with responsibility. If you don't know your roots, you will mistake every foreign fruit as your own. And if you don't protect your crown, somebody else will sell it back to you. This was Mii Kasi Su Kasii, and I am your host, Blaq Steaze. This is our Heritage Month, and we remember that our past is not a museum, it is a mirror. Aluta continua.